You are listening now to the Spirituality Now podcast, the show that is solely focused on practical spirituality, leadership, and mindset skills with the aim and purpose of supporting you master your life. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, your Latino host, and your human lover host. Some of the times, not all of the times. I mean, I love humanity all of the times, but not all the humans all of the times. Yvonne de la Flor. And I'm so excited for this podcast because I get the privilege to interview a human being that I've been following for a while and that I follow because of one reason. In my core values and the things that I admire and respect of is the raw honesty, I call it. It's for some people it's cold or brutal. I love it. I think that the most spiritual thing that we can do in humanity is tell the truth, go with facts, take action and be moment to moment present. And Jeff, our guest, I truly feel that that's the energy of it. And for those of you who are in Latin America, my Latino family that often use the old story and, this is very repetitive in self-belief third world countries, which I think is a ridiculous excuse and belief that to not get things done, that belief that there's something against you to take action. I think this podcast is going to propel you out of your chair into the gym or into doing that which you love. So without further ado, those of you who are watching at us on YouTube, we're pretty new on YouTube. You can see my background. You can see my orange glasses today. If you are not in YouTube, you should follow us because the orange glasses are so awesome.
Just for the orange glasses.
Just for the orange glasses.
There's nothing else, right?
All of the experts here. But anyway, right. So we have our guest, Jeff Nemeth. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
It's Nemeth, actually.
Nemeth.
Okay.
Yeah. Jeff Nemeth.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we pronounce E as A.
That's up, but you pronounce it how everybody pronounces it. Like I would say maybe 1 out of every 20 people gets it right. So don't worry about it.
I don't like that.
You don't like to be like everybody else.
I have a mentor, Tim Grover, and when you do the same as others, it's like your percentage of failure is even greater. I want to start again. Welcome to the podcast. I am your host, and we have as guest Jeff Nemeth. Yeah, Jeff sees the world in totally different way than the masses. Obviously, I was just instructed into that. He started actively ignoring the corporate news over a decade ago. I think that since he was born, but that's my unique opinion. Has never watched a show and believes much more in the power of Main Street rather than Wall Street. I love that. We're going to talk about that. He believes that the mainstream is a bad place to be or think. I love this. Conventional wisdom is overrated, and tradition is simply peer pressure from dead people. Damn. I'm beginning to feel the presence of the Stoics here.
They're there.
Yeah, he's a passionate advocate for small businesses and entrepreneurs and regularly loses followers and friends for his opinions. My kind of individuals. He was one of the first full-time personal trainers in the Detroit area in the early 2000s and spent the better parts of the next 2 decades as an owner and operator of gym studios and personal training businesses. I wonder if you met Tim Grover back in the day. But anyway, so we'll keep the Tim Grover, the mentor of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant.
Right.
That area. Anyway. At the same years. So Jeff carries a strong belief in himself and in the potential of others, along with the regular acknowledgement of his own failures and the inevitable humanity of himself and others. As real as it can get. His outlook has been strongly influenced by a wide variety of sources, from the Toltecs, our people, Toltecs, to the Stoics, to Adler and Camus. That's how we say it in Mexico, Albert Camus. And Bukowski. He strives to hold strong opinions loosely and constantly be challenged in the way he orientates and observes the world. Jeff believes in the power of the written and spoken word, original ideas, and the strength of social media and technology to create connections with like-minded people all over the world. That's how we met.
That's how we met. Yeah.
That's how we met, and that's how I got my first education coaching master thing. Like you said it, like 90% of the people, my last name is Nemeth, okay. And he has coached and consulted with people of several continents and is known to turn on his camera. Wow, I love that. And shoot a one take live video describing a lesson he's learned on our experience he wants to share. That's pretty challenging actually for many people.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff lives in Detroit, Michigan, has 3 children and a very respectable collection of baseball caps, which I love. I collect tees. You collect baseball caps.
Yeah.
A wide variety of interests from fitness to golf to cooking to craft beers and spirits to reading. He will occasionally write about himself in the third person. I love that. Tongue firmly planted in cheek and a smile on his face. Jeff is available for private and group fitness and men's coaching as well as limited business and marketing consulting. And with that said, welcome to the show, Jeff. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. When you reached out and said, "Hey, you want to do the podcast?" I was like, "Oh, hell yeah, let's do it. Whenever you can, let's jump on."
I just feel so honored, So some of the when we started, I started the podcast I rebranded it. It was called Sovereign Futures, and it was in English and Spanish. So a lot of great people like Sean Wallen, the creator of the Gene Keys, Richard Roth, really incredible people like yourself. They gave us an opportunity, and we didn't have this editing team. They were just so incredible with that. But I always appreciate when people. I just reach out directly and they say yes, and there's this fire that tells them this is a yes. I get to learn so much from that. So I've been learning a lot from you. You've seen, my comments in your stories and everything. But I want to start with that because you are a very unique voice that I feel is so needed right now. You remind me of Sean Wall and Garrett J. White, that I've known. And courageous. And I say courageous because it takes courage nowadays in a society that is so entrapped by feelings, and you are ghosting me and you're hurting me, and what about my feelings, and I don't feel like going to the gym, I don't feel like this. It takes courage to defy the voice of nonsense without offense to anyone and bring to the community a medicine, and not the medicines that people talk like, spiritual bias thing, but the medicine of truth, the medicine of just walk, of just do it, right? Of there's so much potential in you. And I wonder, when I read you and I feel what you're teaching, where did this all started for you? I guess there's a story behind the story, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I go as far back as possible, even when I was a kid, the idea that you could sort of build yourself or create yourself, was fascinating to me. And it was not something that I ever worked in or with or on when I was younger. I can remember my dad was in sales, and I remember him having Zig Ziglar tapes, that he would listen to about sales. And I can remember actually using my stereo when I was in high school to make copies of those tapes so my dad could give them to some of the guys on his sales team. And I remember when I was recording, listening to those, and like, this is fascinating. And then, everybody starts and they hear Tony Robbins and all this. And, I think for me, really everything got started in the mid, probably 7-8 years ago when I had been a trainer for 15 years or so, and you're training clients, and eventually you start to see that there's more to the body's a symptom of like other problems, right? So if you continue, for me, it was like a continuation of evolving my craft. Like, how do I get better as a trainer? How do I help more people? Because if 1 out of every 3 people that I train is suddenly like falling back on their bad habits, and I'm teaching them everything I know, like there's something missing, right? And so I started to look at all of these things, like what do the people that are successful have in place? What are the people that aren't? And there was this whole mental framework, this whole spiritual framework that people didn't have in place, so we're like getting people in shape, and people come in, I want to lose 30 pounds, and they lose 30 pounds and they buy a new wardrobe and they're still not happy. And then they go right back to where they were, and I started getting people who come in, and I was like, well, people are like, I just need to lose 20 pounds and I'll be happy. And I'm like, well, you won't. And I'm like, if that's what if you're here to be happy, and you think that losing 20 pounds is going to do it, that's not going to be the case. Like, it's not going to get you there. Like, there's more to it than that. And I can help you with that. But if you don't want to do that, then I don't feel right taking your money. So at the same time, I started experiencing anxiety and panic attacks, and I started doing breath work to sort of try to control that. So there was all these factors that were sort of converging at once, how life works and how everything comes together at once. And so I started sort of on my own journey on that and figuring out, like, doing breath work and doing meditation and all of these things. And it's just sort of led me here. And along the way, you mentioned Garrett and Sean, and those are guys that I've been following, and I was introduced to also along the way. And you have these mentors that pop in and out of your life, whether you meet them or not, right? It can be from a book or a podcast or a video you watch, and it could be any number of people. But, like, if you take something away, right? And then I feel like I have a responsibility to give back also at the same time. So, like, when I write or I share something, to me, it's paying forward or returning the favor, or as a means of thank you to the other mentors I've had along the way that I've learned from, that some of them don't even know I exist or I've ever spoken to. So to me, it's like, I look at like writing or creating or speaking or doing whatever as it's a creative act. It's an artistic act. And once you sort of get in touch with that part of your soul, you have to let it out. And if you don't, like, you're sort of stifling yourself. And I think so many people have that within them, and it doesn't have to be the way we think it is. It's, this isn't your act of creation or, your act of being true or living your authentic life. It doesn't mean what people automatically think it is. You don't have to write poetry, or you don't have to paint a picture and sell it, or, there's all these different things that you can do. And it might be as simple as, like, like meeting your neighbors and, having a block party or something like that. Like, that may be your gift that you give back. But I think we've lost our way with a lot of that stuff. I think that getting in touch with that through all the stuff that you and I write about and talk about is super important in today's world. Using social media, using these tools that are given to us, for free, quote unquote, that, like, we have the opportunity to use them instead of them constantly using us as their design.
I think that's such a key what you're saying, and I want to go back, I'm going to push, like, put lemon in the wound, as they say.
Yeah.
I'm so excited because, it's so rare to talk to someone that talks no BS.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare, it's rare to be, in the presence of someone that gives you direct. I believe that you give feed forward instead of feedback. You because I love in your bio, and there's things that I purposefully skip so we can talk about them, that you said that you have failed more times than anyone, and that you learn from your failures and you bring it back into the now. But one of the things you said right now, and I'm gonna take all these snippets of wisdom that you're sharing, is how important it is to share and use your social media. This is a more surfacey thing that I'm going to say, but that is free. And Sean Wallen always says that, right? And we have the ability to use social media instead of being used. And I think that one of the things that we're losing in humanity now that ChatGPT, all of these, bots, all of these, there's going to be a time, Jeff, and I have all of those machines. I'm going to confess that you sit down in the bed and they do the exercise for you. The bots write your stories now, your book, your sales. Probably very soon there's going to be virtual marriages with someone that doesn't even exist. It's all of a sudden, it's all a delusion. And people like you that come and bring it as it is, I think is the kindest act of love that we can do right now. So, because, even though you said that you lose followers a lot because of the way you show up, for me, that's like, well, you lose people that are unwilling to wake up. Because I experienced from people like you, Shan, Garrett, Tim Grover, genuine love, genuine care for humanity, genuine acknowledgement of all the trials that you have all gone through and that you don't want people to go through themselves, right? So tell me, let's go back to lemon in the wound. Why panic attacks? What was going on? This is important for people to know, because they see you strong-minded, having results, pushing people to their greatness, and they think that it's easy, but it's not easy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that if I could look back to it, that was just a huge I was living a very disconnected life from myself, from my soul, from my spirit, whatever words you want to use for it. I think that at that time in my life, I had a successful business and, 3 happy, healthy kids at home. And there was just a lot going on under the surface that I was refusing to acknowledge. And that has been a current theme in my life, that when I feel that anxiety or I am struggling somewhere, there's a disconnect between how I'm living and how I am spiritually. So, as that gap grows, it's almost like a rubber band, and it starts to stretch. And then as you start to feel that tension in it, right? So that tension starts to build, and then it starts to show up physically. And that maybe when you notice it. So, for me, there was a lot of tension, at home, within my family, within my marriage. And that was all stuff that started to come out because I'm a guy that, I'm a guy. I don't want to talk about this stuff. I'm not going to talk about what problems. I don't have problems. I'm fine. So it's fine. So, that started to show up and the first time it happened to me was like on a Saturday night, and I thought I was having a heart attack, and I went and laid down in bed, and I wasn't even 40 years old. I'm like, I'm in good shape. Like, what's going on? So then I started to step back and look at what's going on in my life. And I was living a life that was good for everybody else. And it was good on the surface, and it made sense to everybody, and it fit in the mold of what I was supposed to be doing. And I was kind of quietly dying inside with all of that. And it was something that, like, I was just like, I can't go on with like this. So I've got to start stepping out. And one of the things that we'll say that was, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. So now one of the things I know that there's part of me that has to create, and at the very least, like, I write something that's from my journal every day that ends up on Instagram and Facebook stories. And if there's nothing else, there's something that I put out there every day.
Wow. So I think my journal is direct. Like, you'll see, if you see my posts go direct, and then
Mhm.
my assistant, Anna or Julia, they like, there's so many typos. I'm like, correct them. I just, it's my live journal, but so that has even more value, for me when I read you, just to know that that's coming not from like, just like, marketing stuff, but it's really coming from the soul. And, I felt when you were sharing these, because so many of us hustle through life, through the expectations of society, the fabrication of the rules in marriage that has lost its virtues, right? It has lost its transformational aspect, that I believe marriage is like a furnace to
Mhm.
shape us into a better human being. And because we marry society, we marry expectations, we marry the Photoshop lifestyle. I lived it for so many years. I did the whole thing, like pictures with the cars, pictures with the planes, all the stuff. I belong to the biggest masterminds. That's how I met Garrett, in a
Mhm.
mastermind of high ticket seller, all of that. But it's a cost. You pay with your soul for a temporal image that you sell to the world, and in that process, you're selling your soul to. And when I sell the devil, I'm not meaning a person out there. I'm meaning their own illusions, the illusory world that you thought you needed to serve. So I was feeling pain when you were sharing these, because I can relate to your story. Is kind of my story, and the story of so many incredible entrepreneurs and genuine people that are coming here to serve. And it's so hard. And I felt for you as a mother of sons, of boys. I have learned to begin to appreciate men far much more. The deep, I feel it right now. How the deep pressure that you as men have. I don't think my ladies, the women community of this planet, have really understood how powerful it is for men to be men and women to be women. So I want to pay tribute to you for that sharing.
Thank you.
How, oh my gosh, I was moved. You can see I lost my track of my interview, because I think this is really genuine. And I know,
Yeah, it's
I'm
a
very,
it's a very interesting time and place in the world to be a man. It's so transitional, and there's so much just in my lifetime that I've witnessed that's good about the balancing of sexual roles and gender norms and all of that. And then there's this other dark side of it that is really, mean, toxic is a word that gets thrown around. Let's just say it's a really dark sort of breeding ground where people get lost and roles get lost and people start to not want to have difficult conversations within each other, and people that, should be having difficult conversations, intimate conversations. And so I think that, yeah, it's I mean, I talk for hours on it, but yeah, I know what you're
Well, you
saying.
can
So
come to the podcast anytime because, I'm going to use the excuse. I'm from Mexico. I like to talk, anytime, anytime. So, wow, this was deep. And I hope everybody can feel this because, this, when someone shares from the depths of their truth, no makeup, no accommodation of excuses or justifications of why they live something painful, or this has the power to transform us all.
mhm.
It's like Bukowski says, find something you love and let it kill you. Dang, before you find something you love, you're going to be killed by every single delusion that you have first until you find something you love and then you die again. It's like, what type of world is this? So, yeah, so you went through that. You went through sort of your own rebirth, right? Through the
Yeah.
fire
Mhm.
of this
Mhm.
unfulfilled life. One thing is to go after success, and the other is to go. You don't go after fulfillment. Once you find who you are, fulfillment is your basis, right? It's a core value. It's a
Mhm.
non-negotiable for the soul, and then that's where you stop sacrificing your values and virtues for temporal satisfaction in the world. But once you went through that, and you went through marriage, and through all those pains that I feel it. You probably learned from doing a mistake once. I do things two or three times, and then, oh, okay, I learned that
Oh,
mistake. So
oh
I
yeah, I
did it
do too. I mean,
twice.
I got scars from doing dumb shit over and over.
But that's so powerful. Let's talk about those scars because I
Yeah.
feel that the scars that are wounds and the scars are the medals of the hero.
Mhm.
So those scars, how would you say they have shaped you into the leader, the guy, the coach, the mentor that you are today?
I think that I always go back to the hard lessons that I've learned and the people that have been there to sort of help pick me up off the ground when I didn't even know which way was up. And I always think that the best that somebody could do is help lift somebody up one rung on the ladder, whether it's mentally, spiritually, financially, however it is. And there's so many ways to do that without even knowing. I had a quick Facebook conversation with a friend of mine who lives in California today. We were talking about coaching. I coach my son's baseball team. So we
Oh,
got, I coach, and we're like right in the middle of like wrapping up the season, and it's really busy. And someone was saying, "Yeah, you're really busy. You're always coaching." And I don't think of it as being busy, right? Nor do I think of it as like, oh, I want to shape these boys into something, right? Like I have a passion for this sport, and I have this feeling that like every one of these boys that I get to interact with, it's a privilege for me to get to coach them. And I hope that they look back in several 10, 20 years and they have really good memories and they grew and learned something, right? Like I don't know anything better that you could leave in someone's life than like
mm,
sort of a bridge, a shortcut over a valley that they would have had to walk through and like struggle through. And if you gave them a bridge or a rope across that, like there's nothing better. And so like that's what coaching is, whether you're coaching in fitness or you're coaching in spirituality or whatever it may be, right? You're giving someone a shortcut. You're saying, I've learned these techniques, I've used them. I have the scar here. You walk across the scar, right? That's your bridge. You don't have to go through what I went through. Like, do it
wow.
this way, get here faster, get here better, save yourself the struggle and the pain, and I'm sharing that with you, and for whatever the reward is for me or for you or however it works. But like, here's this bridge, use it, right? That's what we're all doing. That's what we're sharing today. People hear this and they go, there's something here that like pops in my head. And, oh, I could do this. I can do that. I don't have to be here. This person is going through the same things that I am right now. Maybe I'm not as alone as I think, right?
Wow. Wow. I'm making notes if you can see me here. But this is so powerful. I want to tell you something. You do little. I don't look at. I I have so scheduled my time that even
Mhm.
my social media, who I follow or read, is very limited, right? Like, so I follow you, obviously, and I read, there's a little section on Instagram that we put just one line of comments. I can tell you how much you have given me a shortcut that you just spoke, but it's day zero. I'm like, dang, because I broke my ankle and my knee and my Achilles tendon like a year and a half ago. I'm still in recovery, and I'm not very
Mhm.
patient. Patience have been my main educator in this lifetime. But every time I read that, I feel what you are just transmitting. And I read you, and these days here, I'm like, Yvonne, stand up, go for a walk, 30 minutes. I'm like, I can walk 30 minutes right now. I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. So there
Right.
is so true what you're sharing. What you have gone through has given us a shortcut to get to our next level, or to remind ourselves that literally reminder is not a reminder. It's like remind, reprogram our minds, get off the bed, take off excuses and get going because you did it. Right?
And this is
You're yes.
that's a reminder to me too. Like that when I write that, and I've been writing that for I don't know how long, a couple weeks, a month maybe, but it's sort of been a theme for me that I think that for me, you can look at something and say, okay, this project's going to take me 90 days or 120 days, or it's going to take me 6 months to get to this, whatever it may be. Right. And can become overwhelming. And we can talk about habits and stacking and scaffolding and all these techniques that you use, but to me, to just boil it all down and become ultra present, this is one of the things I learned from Jesse Itzler was be where your feet are. Right, that was one of the things that, like, I still remember when he said that on one of our calls. He said, you guys, you have to be where your feet are, but like boiling it down to the fact that this isn't day one of 75, or this isn't day 25 of 80, or whatever it may be. This is like day zero. Like, I heard Jocko say something about like the clock resetting every morning. And I was like, you're right. It does. Like, whether you had a great day and you killed it yesterday, or you had the worst day ever and you just screwed everything up and you weren't on your game and you didn't do what you wanted to do and you felt like crap, you woke up today and it's a fresh start. And literally, like, this is day zero. You're starting over, good or bad. You're starting over every day. And to me, that's a freeing concept and a motivating concept, in that it's okay. I'm earning today based on today. That's all I have. I don't have tomorrow. I don't have yesterday. They're all gone. We're just right here in this moment. It's you and I on a podcast right now. We're not picking up kids. We're not writing blogs. We're not like creating content. We're not coaching right now. It's just you and I. That's all that exists right now. And to be anywhere but present here is sort of a disservice to ourselves. So I wrote that, and I think it's been a great concept for me. And I kind of view what I write and what I share and leadership it's never felt to me like I'm in front of or leading or directing people. To me, it's always felt like, I'm walking like shoulder to shoulder with people. That's what it feels like when I write stuff. It's always written for me also. Like, it's extremely rare that I will share anything or write anything that doesn't apply to me also, because it just, I don't feel qualified. I don't feel that's just not how I see the world. It's like, it's day zero. I have to get up and work out today too. I have to meditate. I got to walk. I have work to do. I got laundry to do. That's just the way it is. That's life.
Wow. It's so much wisdom. I just felt like I recently went through a Zen training weekend. This felt like that, because Zen is not, people think that Zen is like, oh, no mind. That's the pursuit. But Zen is the most brutal thing. They say that Zen enters through the body and actually is a fire of burning who you are not, to actually be. And I love that ultra present. I had forgotten that we were in the same group with Jesse Itzler.
Right.
Right. Because we know so many people, like, I forgot this same person that you trained, that I love him so much. He's like a Neo of the Matrix. He'll come with his name because I want to bring him to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot his name. I hope I bring it. But you said something that I love. And I think we chatted on Instagram that you earned, like, it's day zero. I'm earning day to day. Let's talk about earning the right. why is it so powerful? I love that. My soul is lifted whenever I hear the word "you have to earn the right." It's like, yes. I
Mhm.
I do not agree with, like, I had a conversation with someone that became from friend to acquaintance very quickly, just because, like, I don't need to earn the right for everything or anything. I was like, okay, moving on, right? But I think, for me, it gives me, like, I love to earn. I love to earn my day, to earn my results, to earn my mistakes, to earn the right for learning from my lessons. So why is it so important to earn the right in your experience?
I think that I can honestly tell you that I spent too much time in my life being looking outward and pointing fingers. And Adler talks about, one of the things he talks about is this concept of sort of three states of problem solving. And you get in these problems and you either think about a problem as like, this bad person, poor me, or what can I do about this right now? And to me, the idea that like we have to earn everything is empowering, and it's freeing, because then we're not blaming anybody anymore. When you wake up and you're like, I get to earn whatever I want today, you're taking full responsibility for your experience, good or bad. And if you make mistakes, that's on you, right? It's not, oh, my neighbor did this, my ex did this, my so and so, like somebody that you can put everything off on. If you fully take that on, you become responsible for, and it frees up you for opportunities to do whatever it is that you decide you want to do, right? At work, at home, with your family. That's taking full grasp of your experience. And so I think, to me, that's when we go, hey, you know what? I'm 10 pounds overweight because I've been stuffing my face with cookies and not exercising and making excuses for not having healthy food in the house and getting junk. Like, that's a simple way to look at it. But like, we earn it all, right? From the bank account to the relationship to our relationships with our kids. Like, we are always on some level responsible. You can never ever point your finger at anything. And I've been through a divorce that was not super amicable. And I can always look at every interaction. At least 1% of it was my fault, which means that more than 1% of it is my fault, which means that I should always be looking at myself versus like pointing a finger at anybody else. Oh, my kid didn't do this. Well, what was my role in that? What did I create? They didn't clean the room when I asked them to. Well, how did I create that? I have a role in that. Is my house spotless? Am I living that life? We can look at it at every problem. We own a share of every problem, and
Absolutely.
focusing on that gives us the opportunity to fix it, because it's all on us at that point.
That's it. What you just said, focusing on that. I rather have the power and the responsibility of
Yeah.
something or not, because I refuse. I refuse to. Oh, I don't want to put myself in the excuse, because now it's becoming an excuse and such a misused word in victim modality.
Yeah.
Even that is becoming a cliche, right? Like, I'm a
Yeah.
victim of this, or I don't want to lose my power to others. You can never lose the power that you didn't have the first place. That's why, I'm in a niche of spirituality or a spiritual teacher. I am not a popular spiritual teacher because of that. I'm like, I don't believe in empathy. I believe in compassion. I can
Right.
be empathic, but let's stop the narratives, because how we support each other is actually by taking the ability to respond for and of our creation. I can take responsibility for what you are going to do next morning, but I can take a responsibility of my attitude, of my behavior, of my choices of doing, being, and becoming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, Jeff, this is so powerful. I want to ask you so many questions, but you had from anxiety, panic attacks. Tell me about how breath work, because one of the things that I'm learning right now, that Zen literally just called me a couple of months ago, and just the study of the no mind and just the practice, and they are far much more disciplined than any other practice that I've seen. So
Mm-hmm.
disciplined, beautiful, and physical. There's a belief that says that Zen enters through the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your mastery or clarity and the love that you have for others, for them to thrive and create results, came from anxiety, panic attacks, and breath work. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to that because it went through your body. It had to run through your body. So I know that you do breath work, cold plunges. I love all of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How important was the participation, and I know you work on this, but I gotta say it for the people that are so in the spiritual niche that we use spirituality as a bias of not doing, and we got to
Yeah.
engage the body. So, how powerful was for you to experience breath work? What did it do? What did it awake in you for you to be the man that you are today?
It's and it's always there's always a reset. It's like pushing a reset button on your nervous system, and the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems and all that. But like, it's like pushing a reset button. And my oldest daughter, 17, is she was here this afternoon before she went to work, laying on the couch, and she's like, "Hey, remember when we were like, you showed me how to breathe before?" And she starts like laying on the couch, so she's not in a good position to do it, but she's like breathing, and she's like, her waistline is expanding, and she's like, what is going on down here? And I'm like, well, there's a bunch going on, but you're filling your lungs with 30 or 40% more air than you ever get in them, and your body's like waking up and going like, oh wait, that's great, like we're using that, and all of a sudden it resets your entire central nervous system. For me, at times when I went through really anxious moments in my life, and I still have them, I understand now that like it's a function of like of what I'm doing and not doing in my day, and then also like the amount of oxygen and calm that I'm sitting with. So that reset of breathing for 10 minutes is like invaluable in turning your day around. Like it's like literally like turning a battleship around like this on a dime. So and you could go, the further you go into some of this stuff, like I've done the Wim Hof techniques and all that before, but like just very simple box breathing techniques that I've learned, that's enough for like 90% of the people to reduce a major part of their anxiety and their just general stress throughout the day. We just chest breathe, right? And then our whole physical being becomes something different, and then mentally we become different, which this is part of the reason I still like talk all the time about going to the gym and like lifting weights, because it resets your system. Like being just with your physical body allows your mental and spiritual body to free up at the same time. Tiring yourself physically, like it allows you to have a better sense of contact with those parts of your being. So, that's what the breath does also.
I love that. And you said that simple breathing, like box breathing, for those of you who don't know it, we'll put a link of that, that the Navy
Mm-hmm.
SEALs just said. But I'm going
Yeah.
to tell you, most ancient breath in Zen practices, Buddhist practices, in practices of self-realization, God realization, and enlightenment, it comes from a sutra called the Anapanasutta Sutra, which is all
Mm-hmm.
about the breath, and it's box breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Years, it's thousands of years before Wim Hof, was breathing on the cold in
Yeah.
Poland.
Right.
There was the yogis, there was the meditators, there was the genuine men and women that wanted to realize the self, that
Mm-hmm.
started breathing that way with a dutiful practice, or also diaphragm breathing, to bring into the body that awareness, to bring into the body that the personal responsibility, that consciousness. So I think we should be teaching the should word,
It's a
in
big word, but
schools,
yeah, I agree.
instead of how to Instagram, how to TikTok, how to AI. How about learning how to breathe, people? All right. So
Yeah.
I love that. One of the things that I love about you is that you've been, and you name it at the beginning of the podcast, is that you kind of honor and respect your teachers. I love how you named Jesse, and I remember the name of our friend, a mutual friend, Ron Lynch. I think he's
Oh,
a genius.
Ron.
I
Ron's a
think
great. He's a wonderful human. Yeah.
I call him Morpheus. I really feel he's Morpheus. I met him. We gave a speech. We were both speaking at the same event. I met him there, and I was like, "This Morpheus. I just found him." And secretly, my ego secretly, am I Neo? No, that was my ego. But I think he's so great. But I love how you honor your mentors. How you said that you have to honor the teachings, and there's so many people that haven't met you, but you are bringing with you their teachings. What do you think? Why do you think is important? Honor to the teachers, and in our pursuit of results. I have a feeling that honoring where we come from is very linked to the results that we create and the excuses that we don't say every day. And I don't see honor and respect being actually highlighted as they deserve these days.
I agree. I think I can think back to teachers I had in school, and part of for me is a reminder to myself that I've learned so much from so many, and I still have so much to learn. I remember years ago, I was managing a restaurant, and I had a young chef, and I remember him saying that he was really young, like 19. I remember him saying, I don't have any more to learn. And I just remember even at that age, and I don't even think I was 30 years old. I think I was still in my 20s. But I remember saying to him, I was like, no. The minute you think that, you are in so much trouble. So I think that for me, I've learned so much from so many, that the concepts that I have in my head and I write about, I almost feel like I should attribute them to somebody every day, because, I never want to be one of those people that gives off the impression that I'm the smartest guy in the room. I'm intelligent. A lot of people are intelligent. I've learned from a ton of people. And I like to drop their names from time to time, so people that are following know that I'm reminding everybody that you should learn from this person too. Like, they have a lot to share, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Dito, that's paying tribute, right? Like,
Yeah.
even there's no self-made man or self-made woman,
Mm-hmm.
even if it appears to, it's our parents, it's our ancestors, it's our teachers,
Mm-hmm.
is the teacher disguised as an enemy? It's how we choose to embrace each circumstance and opportunity. Now, let's talk about quickly. We have like 10 more minutes in the show, but let's talk about the power of words. And then,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, we'll talk about, because you are incredible at fitness and everything, and we'll talk about how people can reach out to you to train with you, how's the work with you. But
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the power of words, because you are so meticulous in your selection of words. I've been listening and watching, like how you write, how you speak, how you redirect your language. When did you become aware of the power of the spoken word, which is like abracadabra, right? Like we create into existence most of the times. We speak worlds with our words into existence. So how did you become aware of the power of words? And why
I
is it
think
important?
it was for me. I started to become more and more aware around the same time that I went through this sort of spiritual awakening that a lot of us go through. Reading that, like, all the Don Miguel Ruiz things that he's written, those were hugely impactful for me, and sort of really steering and changing my outlook on how I viewed everything. And I still go back to all of that. For myself, I think somewhere I started doing, when Facebook first started coming out with a live feature, like 2016 or 2015, somewhere in there, I started going on live and talking about fitness at times. And it was such a new feature. You would pop on, and you may have like 400 or 500 viewers on at one time, because there was nobody that was doing it. And I just did it sort of on a lark a couple times, and I got people messaging me saying, "You're really good at this. You should keep doing it." And I've done it from times, and I still put little Instagram videos up and I do it. So I think at one point I started to realize that I had some talent with writing and speaking. So I knew that I've always had good people skills, and I sort of started to embrace that later in life as a gift and to use it. So making a video, writing is part of one of my natural talents, maybe, or I've developed it, or whatever, however you want to say what the blend of that is. So I try to use it. Just like someone that has a gift for painting should paint, whether they show the paintings to the world or not, they should paint. Or if someone is a good poet or loves to write poetry, they should write poetry. Whether they share it with the world or not is up to them, but they're still creating that. So I think people have a lot of talents that we don't necessarily look at and think of as a talent anymore, right? Like, some stuff I see on social media, on TikTok and other places is so creative. It like cracks me up,
You
and I'm
do
just
great
like,
artists. You great. I love how when you put the video, like, no, you don't get glutes like that. You are not.
I know. And like, sometimes I feel a little bad that I'm like picking on like whoever's creating this stuff and just talking shit about it. But like, some of it is really bad. And the fitness industry is really bad with just nonsense information. And there's so many billions of dollars that go around. Like, part of me doing those videos is just my cleansing of the soul, and like, here's my flag in the sand saying that, like, no, this doesn't work. I'm doing my part to say this is crap. Don't do it. Save your money. Don't do this. Save your time. Blah blah blah. But I just think there's a lot of like creative and beautiful ways that people can share their gifts with the world, and the power of what you write and what you say and how you think reflects in how you show up in the world and how you interact in each interaction. And that's critical. Like, the more we talk about that, that doesn't mean, like we've talked about earlier, that we're going to walk around and say, hey, everything's fine, the house is burning. We're like, it's fine, this is a gift. No, call the fire department, put the fire out. But, like, false positivity is just as bad as like rampant negativity. But like, being realistic about things and also saying, like, as we talked about earlier, I have the ability to change the situation. It's presented to me, this problem, this situation I'm in, this tough spot, this thing that I'm afraid to do, but it's here so I can do it and work on it. I have the ability to do that. So I think sharing that through written, spoken word is sort of my way to do it.
I love that. And I love that you work through, both in marketing and the fitness industry, because I truly believe that, the body is the temple of the soul. And
Mm-hmm.
anybody that gets to work and help us shape better our body, like people can come with me, I can help them spiritually. I can, take them to meditate. I can, we can go through endurance trainings, but fitness training, I need support. I need coaches. I need a guide for that, for me to stay on track, have accountability, and have an expert that has results tell me that's
Mm-hmm.
not the right food, that's not the right movement. Like, I cannot do my therapy of my ankle and all of that by myself. I needed to
Right.
hire
You need an expert to do
expert.
that. Yeah.
I don't want to get surgery in my heart by a cook. I want to have a surgeon that actually knows about heart surgeries, and that, I mean, I'm not claiming that, but if that was the case, or someone, I think you go with someone that has expertise on that, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
you work with people on that. How can people reach you? Do you have group classes, private lessons? Can they reach out to you?
I'm on you can catch me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. It's just my name, Jeff Nemeth. My website is jeffnemeth.co. I do group trainings. I do individual trainings. My focus is always on working with men, mostly divorced men in their 40s and above, but I do take exceptions for other people. It's a simple application and a call. And it's simply, I mean, anybody I work with, we have to have the energy to work together. Sometimes it's just not a good fit, and we can tell that right off the bat. But, I give away as much information as I can and deem possible to people on my social media, and that's fun for me to interact and to do that stuff. It never seems like work, right? It's like, oh, I'm busy with work. And like, am I working or is this fun? I don't know. Like, I can't tell.
Right. So, well, I love that you offer that to people, and we'll make sure to put all the links, all your contact information for everyone. And I really
Mm-hmm.
feel like, having a coach like you, a guide like you, a mentor like you, is the death of, is it that your clients probably go to the cemetery the first day and like, here lies my excuses. Everybody put some flowers, goodbye, never to return there. And I think that's an incredible call to action for anyone wanting to go to their higher level in body, mind, and spirit, and to have the support of men supporting men. Me as a woman, I witness, and I want to support that, because that makes the whole, our whole of our humanity much, much better, and puts us all back in our natural place. I'm not even going to start talking about it, because we'll go to another episode. I got fired, Jeff, as a client from a publisher, because a man told me I identify with a woman, and I didn't let him enter into a bathroom where there was a 7-year-old girl alone there, and I got fired. Just for you to know, identity, gender misconceptions. So I'm very supportive of clarity and true mentorship in the world. So, yeah, anything else that you would like to say? Something to take people off their chairs into movement, and to drop their excuses, to put them in the cemetery of excuses, to say farewell to them before you leave.
Yeah. It doesn't matter where you were yesterday. It doesn't matter where you were this morning. or this afternoon, or whenever you're watching this, or wherever you were or are, like, it only matters where you are and the next step you take. And that Zen focus of being in the moment and taking a step forward, no matter how small it may feel at that point, is always a jumping off point. And that concept will be invaluable throughout your life, is understanding that whether you're on a good roll or on a bad roll, or wherever the momentum is taking you of your life, you are one step away from turning that in a better direction. And I think that's the most valuable thing that you can carry with you and remember, and be focused on that moment, that one that we have right now.
Wow. Day zero.
Day zero. That's it.
We start right now.
Right now.
Bill, Jeff, thank you so much. This
You're
was
welcome.
incredible. I really forgot that we were in camera. I was really engaged. The energetic aspect of it, I felt it really strong. Thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom. And we'll make sure to share all your contacts for people to follow and act upon it. And thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the team behind the scenes here. Remember that we are a philanthropic podcast. We are sponsored by Bella Flor Teachings International, produced by Brilliant Futures Productions, and we remain ads free. So to give you the wisdom of these incredible guests, just pure and free for you to get it. So hopefully it serves. If you take action upon it, we will see you next week. Another great, incredible guest. Same social media links. Love you. Un beso. Adios. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere where you prefer to listen to your podcast. Make sure to check the links to everything we mentioned in this episode. For more news, future or past episodes, or for any other inquiry, please visit our website at delaflorteachings.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast.